Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm trying to defeat a 2900 elo grandmother with a bazooka instead of a queen. The bazooka moves like a queen and a knight for any distance, and like a camel, with an L shape of length 3. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, as you can see I do have that bazooka on the board. It does have the movement ability of a queen, it just can't move like a queen at the moment because of the pawns. It can also move like a knight for any distance, so you see that repeating knight pattern. We have 1 L, we have 2 Ls, and 3 Ls all the way down to A7, and it can also move once like a camel, which is basically like the same L shape that a knight has, except it's 3 squares in length instead of 2, so we can hit C4 and E4 at the same time. Now I don't believe this is a forced mate. I could drop the camel on, oh wait. Oh wait, it is a forced mate. If I drop the camel on F5, I hit E7 and E8 at the same time. Isn't that just checkmate? Oh, it is. I probably should have checked that before recording this video. Okay, in the spirit of actually playing one game where we swap out these pieces, I'm going to play one developing move and give Granny an actual chance to fight this bazooka. So I'll start with D4 instead, and we'll give Granny an actual fighting chance. Okay, we do get pawn to D5, which does actually cover that F5 square, so it should no longer be checkmate in 1. Of course, we can't go to D5 either, even though that's the same distance away because it is covered by the queen. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to develop my pieces and play a relatively normal game, try and trade off as much as we can, and eventually I should be able to use this bazooka to overpower the queen. Okay, we do get pawn to E6. I'm going to keep developing, but I am going to develop very aggressively. One of two things will happen. It'll either defend itself very awkwardly, or it will allow trades, and that's what I'm looking for anyways. Okay, we do get knight to F6. Now, I don't know if I want to trade a bishop for a knight quite yet, but it is just going to be available to me anyways, so I can keep developing. If I do want to trade at some point, like I said, it will be on the board and available. All right, we do get pawn to C6. We will keep developing. We are met with pawn to H6, booting out the bishop, and the only reason that I left this is because I'm not totally sure if this is going to be an open position, a closed position, if knights will have an advantage, or if bishops will have an advantage. I mean, more often than not, bishops are better than knights, but only by a tiny bit. However, I'm going to imagine that a bazooka is so much better than a queen, not by a tiny bit that is, that I can probably just make this trade and feel pretty safe that I'll still have a winning advantage down the line. Right, we do get pawn takes back. Interesting that it didn't take with the queen there. I'm not totally sure why. It's not like my bazooka can do anything that targets F6, so I really don't know why. I guess I'll just keep developing. Maybe it's trying to fight for central control. Maybe it'll do like bishop D6, knight D7, and then try to go for an E5 push. I'd imagine that sort of pushing me back into my own position is going to be the only way it can restrict the movement of my bazooka. We do get pawn to H5. Now I'm really not sure what it's doing. I'll develop my bazooka to E2, and I'm thinking I'll play C3 and then E4 myself if Granny doesn't have an attempt on E5 at any point. Okay, we get rook to H6 by Granny. I'm going to imagine that Granny is seeing some line that I'm not seeing, where somehow the bazooka gets like, oh, never mind. I was gonna say somehow the bazooka gets into the king's side and gets like checkmate, and so it's like already proactively defending against it. But no, it's actually way simpler than that. The bazooka was just targeting the rook for free, so the rook moved out of the way. That makes a lot of sense. And it's also given me the idea that it's actually super advantageous for me to open up the position. Because obviously I didn't see that the rook was free there, but the only reason it was free is because my bazooka has a clear line of sight all the way down to H8, which is only possible because this side of the board is a little bit more open. So I think it's very much in my favor to try and open up the position, and it'll just give the bazooka way more attacking opportunities. Okay, we do get queen to D6. I could just play E5 here. I think that makes a lot of sense. If I take, the pawn takes back, and then I don't have E5 as an outpost, whereas if I play E5, the pawn has to take. I mean, I guess the queen could technically move out of the way and allow me to take, but I'd imagine the pawn is going to take, and then I can centralize my bazooka. Or rather, centralize my knight. In no world am I taking with my bazooka and trading it off for the queen. I don't know that I can beat a 2900 elo Granny if I do trade off my one special piece. Right, the pawn does in fact take. I'll go ahead and take back with the knight. We do get knight to D7. I mean, with my eyes closed, I'm instantly trading off that piece. If I had to guess, Granny's going to try and justify that by taking with the bishop and then maybe long castles to get out of the line of sight of the bazooka, which is probably the best idea. but I don't really care. I just want to trade off pieces, and as we trade off more pieces and open up the position, I feel like the power of the bazooka will make itself known against Granny's pieces. Right, we do get bishop takes back. Let's just centralize another piece. Okay, the bazooka doesn't defend b4, so if I play knight to f3, there is queen b4 check, grabbing b2 on the way, so I'm going to play c3 first. I have to be a little bit careful here, though, because there probably are ideas of like e5 or to e6, and in some lines there, it's possible my bazooka gets annihilated off the board. So I might have to castle soon as well. Oh, wait, we get king to d8. Oh my goodness, have I done the exact same thing where we can't castle? Yup, there it is. Oh my goodness, I did this in a previous episode as well. To be frank, it just doesn't change things that much. Castling was literally invented just because it makes the act of doing this, where you slide the rook over and push the king back faster, but it doesn't actually change the game because the value of castling is still worth it to do that. Especially if it's the same for both opponents. It's not like anybody has an advantage over anybody else. I'm going to continue with knight to f3 though, try to centralize that knight, maybe trade it off for a bishop, so it's bishop versus bishop. Okay, we do get pawn to f6, stops the idea of placing the knight in the center. I'll play king to d2. I'd like to connect my rooks, bring at least one of them towards the center, and then I can throw the king back into its sort of castled position. Right, king to c7. As you can see, we're basically doing the at least very similar idea to castling. We're just doing it more slowly. Again, the whole reason that castling was invented in the first place was to make that faster. Right, here comes the rook. I'll move my king back. It might actually not move its king back right away. That's more of like a human move, I feel like, to just finish up the process of castling. But it very well might. It might be safe to just stick the king in a corner. So the bazooka is as far away from that king as possible. Okay, that is in fact what we get. We do get king back. Okay, how to proceed? I need to like find a weakness in the position or something. It's interesting too, because even if I use the bazooka to like target the queen, for instance, as long as the queen is defended, in no universe am I taking my bazooka and trading it off for the queen. So I have to actually like target like free pieces or create weaknesses somehow in this position. Let's start by moving this rook over, and I think I'm gonna play like knight d2, f4, and then maybe f5 and try to reinvigorate the attack in the middle of the board. Okay, we do get bishop e7. Little concerned about these bishops in some future coming down and piercing into my position, but for the time being, it's not a concrete threat. If we do get f5, I will just move the knight back and then force it onto e5. Okay, we get bishop to e8 instead. It's rerouting, which makes a lot of sense. That bishop was almost an honorary pawn on d7, just staring into its own pawn structure. So it's probably looking to get to g6 and at least get traded off for a bishop that actually controls some squares. I could also take here on e6. Queen takes back, rook takes. Bishop moves out of the way, and I would be up a pawn, but I'm not sure if that's enough of an advantage to defeat a strong bot. So I'll play f4 instead, grab a little more space. There's really no rush here. Oh, pawn to f5? I mean, no brainer, surely. I'm gonna move knight to f3, maybe not even knight to e5, maybe knight to g5 instead, maybe h4 to set up knight to g5. It just feels like it's now conceded a lot of space. It's made this bishop a little less effective, but to be honest, that bishop wasn't looking at anything anyways. Right, we get bishop to f7. Let's set it up with pawn to h4. It's funny too, because this pawn isn't hanging because the bazooka defends it, so the queen is actually looking at nothing there. Sure, rook to f8. I'm pretty sure it's just waiting around now. In no universe do I think that Granny actually thinks she has an advantage. She is a much stronger engine, but she's not playing on the premise that I'm a much weaker player, right? She's playing for the best concrete moves on the board, and realistically, there should be no attacking chances for black as long as I have the bazooka on the board. So I'll continue with knight to g5. I'm happy again to trade off pieces. Bishop does in fact slide back. I could just take again. Rook takes, bazooka takes, queen takes, rook takes, leaves me up a pawn and up the exchange. Hitting this bishop at the same time. Bishop takes on h4 though means that I'm no longer up a pawn, but I am still up the exchange. But it's really not all that convincing, is it? Okay, let's double up the rooks. If I do start the attack on e6, I'd like to lead with the rooks. Both rooks lead with the knight and have the bazooka be like the absolute final capture. Right, rook to f6, it's going to double and triple down on its defense. I don't doubt that it'll quadruple down on it if it feels it's necessary, but I'll double up my rooks anyways, since this is the most natural point to attack at the moment. Right, and we do in fact get bishop to d7. Now again, how to proceed here? Let's start moving around the bazooka a little bit, poking and prodding. There may be ideas that I'm missing by just not moving it around. We do get bishop back to c8. What's my actual scope here? I can reach as far as d7, which no shot in heck I'm moving it back there. Is there anything else I can do with this bazooka? Maybe I'll slide it over. I'd imagine if it gets to g8, it should be a threat of some kind to the opponent. Okay, Granny moves back to f8. Again, I don't think she's actually doing anything. I think she's more so waiting around. I'll move the knight back. It's not attacking e6 anymore, and it does kind of open up this idea. But if the bazooka makes it down there, I feel like it has to be a threat of some kind. Okay, the queen does move back. I can't just move my bazooka down to g8. Oh, does it get trapped somehow? Wait, bazooka here. Rook shuffles over. Bazooka to h8. And then like what, bishop g7 and my bazooka gets trapped or something? Ugh, that's kind of disappointing. Oh, what about this? Okay, knight to g5. I'm just gonna play bishop to e2, and the bazooka and the bishop are going to coordinate to grab h5 for free, as long as it doesn't play bishop d7. Okay, we get bishop d6 instead. Oh, it's targeting f4. Oh, I might have to play defense here in a second. Rather, I might have to play defense now. Okay, I'll defend f4. We do get bishop back to e7, so I should just have bishop e2 targeting h5. Great, bishop goes back. That is free because my bazooka defends it. And I think with this outside h-pawn, I should be able to actually cause some trouble. Queen to e7, not to mention I could even just drop the bishop off on f7, takes. Actually not all that convincing, but it's an idea. Okay, let's double up again, since neither of these pieces is looking at f4 anymore. Bishop goes out to b6. I don't think that changes anything. Let's move this bishop back to f3 on the off chance it's looking for c5. We have bishop takes d5 because of the pin on the e6 pawn to the queen. Okay, we get queen to c7. Wait, I can't just take? No, I can't. 3 defenders, 3 attackers, and the bazooka doesn't help me out there. It's so funny, it has range down to a6. That's the kind of thing I want to keep an eye out for, is the bazooka suddenly having like eyes on some crazy square that I just didn't notice. Okay, let's push h5. Oh, we do get c5. Oh, that's why it moved the queen out of the way, so this wouldn't be pinned anymore. So we were on the right track, we just didn't keep the pressure. We have c5 on the board. This is getting a little bit scary for my king. I will initiate a trade, however. Queen does take back. I could trade off the bazooka for the queen if I think this is winning. I'm not sure that this is that winning though, actually. Oh, I really need more pressure on the position like ASAP. Oh, I could just drop the knight in, because if this rook takes, I pick up this rook with the bazooka. So I can actually just reroute the knight through f7. And it does actually take. Okay, wonderful. So I drop the bazooka on h6. I don't think it's so far away that my king's in any actual danger. I mean, wait, there's d4. Then I pick up this rook, they pick up this rook, and that pawn is never promoting because I have the rook on e1. So I think I'm happy with that. Ooh, queen to f8. Wait a second. Am I just up material? I'm up the exchange. Okay, so should I take rook takes back? I could even just sack. Takes. d5 is dropping. That has to be winning. Surely that's winning. I could even just take right now, and then I'd stay up the exchange. Okay, I like that because that defends the bazooka. So should they take, or rather should Granny take, I just take back with the rook. Nice. Of course, Granny takes the opportunity to get rid of my bazooka, and this is me fully committing now that I think that I'm winning this game. Nice, d5 is just free. It shouldn't be able to defend itself because, again, I'm up the exchange and an additional 3 pawns, one of them being an outside pass pawn, and the other 2, maybe helping to create a second pass pawn. Right, rook shuffles over. I'm just going to cement that bishop there on d5. It's wonderfully placed in the center, looks at b7, looks at the entire queen side, or rather king side, that is. It's just a great bishop. I'm going to cement it there on c4, or rather with c4. Bishop goes back to c7. Of course, I'm not dropping off any free pawns. Of course, the rook can't target it because the bishop, again, doing a great job there on d5, covers g8. Whoa, pawn up to b5, we'll just reinforce. Should Granny take, I just replace one pawn with the other, and I'm doing pretty good there. Okay, bishop to a5 targets the rook. We'll just drop it off on the 7th rank with pretty good attacking ideas. Bishop to b4 harasses my rook again. I should probably move it to a light square so it stops getting bothered by this pesky bishop. Great, bishop to d7, I can just double up on the 7th rank, hits the bishop, hits the pawn on a7. I mean, there might even be checkmating ideas here. King shuffles over. Okay, I don't have to overcomplicate this. I'll just push my pawn. Worst comes to worst, I shuffle out of the way, push, rook g8, and I'm forcing promotion. So the pressure here is on Granny to figure out how do you stop this, not on me to follow through with checkmate. Right, pawn to a6. I don't think Granny has a way to stop this. Bishop goes down to c3. Can I just push? That would be crazy. Takes, rook takes back. If rook to h8, I just have rook to g8, which is check, and forks the rook, forcing it to take, and then I have pawn promotion. So I push. I just completely ignore that I'm giving back the exchange. King moves up. I think I just have rook g8. Again, I want Granny to take so I can promote. And I mean, even if she doesn't, I'll just trade off. And I should be able to force a promotion anyways, like check and then push. Nice, king just moves back. Take with check. Granny takes back. I do have a second to check, and even if she moves up and targets my rook, I just have that promotion well defended. Nice, king to c7. We will promote to a queen. Thank you very much. Granny really only has one move here, which she does put down on the board. I will take back, and this is just conversion. Frankly, I'm just going to get rid of all of these pawns, get rid of that bishop, even if I have to sack material for it, and then eventually turn one of these pawns into a promoted queen. All right, as you can see, we've managed to simplify the position, and I'm just going to snipe up that queen. 2 pawns advancing on opposite sides of the board, there's no shot that Granny is fast enough for this, even if she does have titanium knees and a cane. There's just no shot she's catching both of these. Alright, and with one of the weirder checkmates that I've ever done, queen to e2 does in fact checkmate Granny, and turns out the bazooka, swapping it out for the queen, was in fact enough to defeat even a very high elo grandmother. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what other memes I should recreate in chess form, and I'll see you guys in the next one.